Travelers to the Never Ending Adventure podcast. This is your host, DJ Alley Cat.
Hello, and I'm DJ Jackie J. Welcome to the Never Ending Adventure podcast yet again. We're so excited to be talking to you all about a really, really cool episode. What do you think,
I
Allie?
agree. This was probably one of my favorite episodes of season 3.
Oh,
so
for
far.
Sure. Definitely. Like, women rock. Am I right?
Yeah. And I think I love seeing all of the characters, what stereotypes they start to fill, and then also when they diverge from those stereotypes, and just their personality shines through and matches with their original genders.
100%. We love some Finn and Jake, but it's really all about Fiona and Cake today. Am I right?
Definitely.
Well, it's so good to talk to you. I feel like we haven't caught up in a minute. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel like both of us have been really busy with you moving, and then my job has been crazy, and I feel like your job's always crazy.
It is, man. Talk about the agency world, but I know fashion as well and is super crazy, and coming down to Atlanta has been really great, but I love that our podcast kind of keeps us in touch. Get to talk all the time. It's pretty cool.
Exactly. Keeps us connected.
Keeps us connected. And I don't know, just this episode too it just honestly sparked, I think it reminded me of just how much fun that I have talking to you and just adventure pals, and it was really cool seeing Finn and Jake in their female form. I was like, I like this a lot.
Yeah, girl power moment for sure.
Yeah, girl power moment for sure. I absolutely love it. And I'll just kind of go ahead and get started. One thing that I sort of haven't been able to shake is just kind of all of the really cool themes throughout this episode. Kind of just right off the bat, starting with hey, let's have it at a basis a girl has a crush, and the guy, you know what I mean? It's kind of friend zoning her a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that Fiona and Gumball in this universe are the same age. So we can have that will they, won't they, but it's still very much established. Gumball just sees her as a pal. And it's you can kind of tell she has a crush on him, but I don't know. It's Gumball is feeding these mixed signals of that too. Let's invite her to the ball. That's kind of romantic. That's not a typical friend date thing.
Oh, 100%. And I almost feel kind of friend zoned really soon. But also I obviously got Princess Bubblegum vibes, look, appearance, what have you. I was yo, where's Princess Bubblegum at? And I kept being no, it's Gumball, Jackie. It's Gumball. And Gumball's being a poopy face tomato nose.
Very much so. And it's great about Gumball is it feels like he has the very same, I don't know, it's almost carelessness towards sentience that Princess Bubblegum because with the Jellykinders, which are my lovelies of the episode.
Oh my God, me and you are soulmates because
they're so cute.
Give me some sugar, baby.
They're so freaking cute. I just want to I sort of want a magnet of a Jellykinder. I also would like to eat one. I also would like to become a best friend with one.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
I think all of those things. I think kicking them also looked like a lot of fun.
Yes, and how they apparently don't speak, but yet, I don't know, he was trying to say something. He or she was trying to say something. Jellykinder was trying to hype something up. But I it's fun because I love all of the Candy Kingdom, characters and little. They're so cute to look at. It's check these little guys out.
They're all so adorable. Even Princess Bubblegum and Prince Gumball are both very cute, like aesthetically. Like,
oh, for sure. Definitely the popular kids.
100%.
And like, I feel like I relate a lot to Fiona just right off the bat, because I was way more of a tomboy myself growing up. And so, and like liking the popular guy and kind of coming out of the gate and being like, I'd rather go play on the playground. Like, but I also like have a crush on this person like in this prompt pink outfit, but it'd be what it be.
Yeah, I get that too, because I think I was also very much a tomboy, just like wanting to play sports. But I think for me, it was like later on that I started to develop crushes and stuff. So I don't know.
I got you. Later on is fine. I probably could have saved myself a few years of heartbreak.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. But all that to say, like, I guess in that case, then it's like, okay, well, you know, you have Fiona and Cake. And to be honest with you, the episode was, there are so many parts of it that I think I remember the most that are toward the end of the episode. But like what they're doing at the beginning and then like, boom, bam, all of a sudden, like we have the bully come in, like, you know, Ice Queen, like, whoa, like in my face. And I'm like, oh my God, I was like not expecting this grandeur.
I loved when Ice Queen shows up, because she like comes in on a bolt of lightning and it's like so cool. Like she's like so strong, but it's also so different than Ice King himself. And like, I don't know, it's like we're so not used to this version of an ice villain or like an ice antagonist, I guess is more appropriate, because especially in season 3, where Ice King has kind of evolved into trying to become friends, it's kind of like a shock to your system to have like this really villainous Ice Queen.
Very much so. Like it was definitely off-putting for me when I watched it, just because I'm like, wait, we're sort of, you know, there's this kumbaya kind of like adventure pals sort of vibe going on, and then to have, oh wait, like this is a bad energy here,
right?
And just very much like strikes you in the face. But what would you say when you first experienced like Ice Queen? Were you immediately like, this is giving me like even old Ice King vibes? Like what did you feel like was different about Ice Queen, like even from the beginning of the episode?
I think right from the beginning, it's obvious that she's like more, it's almost like she's more savage with, I'm
more
sure,
of a badass.
More of a badass, all of it. Like she's just a little bit and more willing to like use her powers. I think Ice King kind of restrains himself in a lot of ways, but this seems like an unrestrained version of Ice King maybe in season 1.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah, but I think in that scene, I think we both have a lot to talk about with Ice Queen, but I love in that scene when Fiona and her are fighting, and Fiona kind of calls her out for predatoring on dudes. She's like,
it's like, quit creeping.
Yes, like stop being weird, because I feel like a lot of times it's not mentioned how creepy women can be towards men too.
Facts though. Facts.
Yeah. And even in media, it's just like not a storyline that's hit very much. So I kind of love that Adventure Time was like, no, it can happen to dudes too, and it's just as creepy.
And it's just as not cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in concurrence there. I definitely got creepy vibes, and I was all of a sudden just picturing Ice Queen like going after or Ice King like going after all the princesses. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what are they doing with Marshall Lee? Like with Ice Queen?
Right.
Like what is she trying to do to like get on that electric guitar? Okay, that came out like mildly inappropriate, but you know, I want to play some tunes with you. Something like that.
Yeah.
which like low key, like Marshall Lee is a cutie, side note. Definitely reminds me of my husband, Ned. Like I've talked about him before on this podcast. Y'all have gotten to hear from my husband, Ned, and then, Allie's boyfriend, Russell. They're pretty cool, but we like to talk about them on this podcast. And I don't know, something about Marshall Lee. I was like total Ned vibes. I think Ned has that same flannel. Little bit of a side note, like kind of like a side tangent here, but did you see a character that reminded you of Russell?
I mean,
Marshall Lee, same style.
I mean, I kind of was thinking Marshall Lee too, but I think Marshall Lee is, I don't know, he's kind of just that, I don't know, it's the flannel, it's the attitude. The bad boy. Yeah, like I don't know. Even when he like comes in and he gives like the rock symbol with his tongue sticking out of the ball.
I was like, can I please be Marshall Lee? I'm like, that is me on a daily basis. Like read an email, like rock on hands, like side tongue. What is life?
Yeah, and he's just like floating off, like real cool. But
right.
I would probably say, and kind of mentioning that Marshall Lee was my sexy character of the episode.
Yes, I would have to say he was mine as well. So I think Ned and Russell, great style choices. Keep it up, boys. Doing something right. That's so fun. But I would have to say, and I know like we have so much to talk about because I feel like there's a lot of me to this episode, but like I kind of want to obsessively talk about Cake for like the whole time.
Me too.
She not so cool? She
was honestly like she was such a great part of the episode. She's so encouraging of Fiona, and she has like so much sass, and I don't know, it's like she's built up of just moments of like helpfully pushing Fiona along. It's kind of beautiful, their friendship. I love it so much.
It really is. And I was like, I feel that everyone needs a Cake in their lives. The ultimate hype woman. Like for some reason, that energy she's given off, I'm thinking in my head, I would love to see you as a background dancer in like a hip hop music video, please. Like, can I please just have somebody pushing me to excellence and to be my best self? And I think that Cake is absolutely doing that for Fiona. And we see that relationship with, of course, Finn and Jake as well. That's evident. And I was really cool to see it, see the play with like a Fiona and Cake kind of energy and like fun banter going back and forth with one another. But I think, and correct me, like let me know what you think. Correct me if you think I'm wrong here. But if Cake and Jake were to meet in real life, like I think Cake would put Jake in his place. What do you think?
I think so too. I think Cake doesn't put up with much, and she's so, I don't know, it's like she's so positive, and Jake's kind of apathetic in a lot of ways.
Definitely.
So I think she would just like call him out on his apathy and just like not deal with it.
Yeah, she'd be like, "No, dude, you're being a little lame right now."
Right. Like, no, like, I don't know. I think she would also be like, no, like, this person's so cool, like, hype them up, and then be like, you're being dumb.
Yeah, like, Jake, so, just stop. Don't rain on my parade kind of a thing. But I definitely enjoyed, Cake so much, and felt like she was like such a strong voice of the episode. And I thought her and, Fiona blended really well. And so tell me a little bit more, maybe what are your like favorite scenes between the two of them, in this episode? And
yeah, I think some of my favorite moments is when she was like pushing Fiona along, just being like, no, be confident, girl. Like, I think at one point she was like, no retreat, girl. And then a little later on, she's like, tell Gumball you think he's hot.
Yeah.
And I
that's great.
Loved that scene because it reminded me so much of my first message to Russell on Bumble.
Tell me more. I don't know how I don't know this. Wait, I knew about the Bumble part, but I don't know about this message part.
Yeah, my first message to Russell on Bumble was like, hey, I hope this isn't too forward, but I really think you're really attractive and I would love to get to know you more. And then I was like, I noticed that you mentioned podcast, like you like podcast on your profile. I'm super into podcasts. And then his message back was like, that is too forward. Then just kept talking about podcasts. So
that is the best thing I've ever heard. You heard it here first. Podcasts bring people together.
Yes, definitely.
That is super cool. And I love that so much. And I'm going to bring that up again someday.
No,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's why I like Cake so much is I was just like, I don't know, she's giving to me, it feels like really helpful, positive advice, like advice that would probably work in contrast to when Jake was giving advice to Finn being like, you should wear this weird loot suit and like go like serenade her, you know, like.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe a little bit more of concrete advice rather than like, hey man, like let's mess with this horse that's got poo brain.
Right.
One of my favorite lines. I don't know, something crazy. But I think that's awesome. And I'm still reveling that story. That's great.
Yeah.
And I something that I think is just really unique about this episode is that they offer up a lot of scenarios within the episode that really like call back to, I think, like some neat movies that like I've experienced in my childhood, and like a really cool opportunity to say like, hey, we're going to take this fan fiction new storyline to the next level, and not just at a point where we're still showing you some really cool qualities about our core characters, but really building on that. And so I think there's so many directions that I want to go in right now. And I'm like, where to even begin? Just because again, like I mentioned before, I could talk about Cake all day, but another one is like, you know, I also want to talk about Lady Rainicorn's like counterpiece, and like there's a lot to talk about there too. And
Lord Monochromic Corn.
See, you can say it. I cannot. I'm like, I wanted to say Lord Monochromatic, which was not accurate in the slightest, but
it actually is very accurate to what he's trying to, like, what they're trying to do with his character.
Wait, tell me more about that. I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, because like he is supposed to be like a monochromatic character, like the exact opposite of a rainbow. Is he like shares the same tonal value across the board?
I love that tonal value. I need to add that to my bio or my resume. Offers a tonal value. I'm sorry, keep going. I don't know.
No, so like monochromatic is like it is right. It's just they added a corn to the end of it because he's also a unicorn. So it's very close. Yeah.
Yes, most definitely. And I think it was just really cool because I was not and even when I watched this episode, and this is my, fourth, fifth time seeing it, it was just really cool just kind of having, being like, oh my gosh, how in the world did I forget about him? Here he is again. This is great. And so kind of like bringing the juxtaposition that you have between the two of them. But then also you're like creating a bridge between the two universes in a way.
Right.
Which is really cool.
He was actually my tops of the episode. Like when he shows up and he like clip clops at Cake. And Cake's like, hey gorgeous, and then her tail fluffs up all big. Like,
and it frizzes, it's like lightning.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I'm nervous now.
I loved that scene so much. It like cracked me up every time we watched Like every time I watched this episode, it was so good.
Same. I've got to say, when Ned sat down and watched this with me, that was his favorite part.
Yeah.
Was their chemistry in that moment. And just kind of, and honestly, like so much of it just made me think like, this is like middle school. This is how I would talk to my friends in middle school. Like if there was a boy that came up, like I have really, really thick hair. It's unfortunate for me because I live in the South and it's 100 degrees outside and 110% humidity. So like a boy would come talk to me and my hair would be like for a city. I'd be like, zing, I like you a lot. Hello. Are you going to ask me to the dance? Please. I will gladly go with you. You asked me to meet you in the gardens. Okay. Not weird at all or creepy.
Right.
But so I guess like my next question too, and something that I was really enamored with was Fiona's sword. Because I just thought about her putting it in her purse. We can come back to that. But by goodness gracious, do I want one of those? Where can I get one?
Yeah, it's honestly, it was such a cool present for Gumball to give that to her. Like it was like this really easy gesture to like a really thoughtful gift all in one. And I think for me, I was like, oh, that's really cool. The sword is awesome. Like who doesn't like swords? I don't know. Everybody needs a sword.
I completely agree. Everybody does. And I definitely, I thought it was, I mean, obviously the grass sword, awesome, amazing. But something, I don't know if it was a color. I don't know if it was like, hey, I just pulled this out of the ground, bunch of gemstones, like what's up? Badass. And I know I've used that a lot this episode, but wow. Like I was really excited about it. And I was really glad too that she chose to pack it up with her when she went to the ball.
Yeah. And I think it was important for her to like still keep something that like tied her to herself almost. Like you don't have to like get rid of all of your interests to, I don't know, almost get the guy. You know,
exactly.
like no, you don't need any weapons to go to a ball, but she likes weapons. Like why should she not bring her weapons?
Yeah, I might be putting my pepper spray in my purse.
Especially if it like gives her comfort in a way. I don't know.
100%.
I think that was probably my moment for Cake where I was just like, no, like let her do something that like she's interested in and makes her feel a little bit more like herself.
Exactly. And I could see Cake even being, as you know, much of a cheerleader as she is for Fiona, being in a way like sometimes the voice that takes over and just, you know, is almost acting like the mother figure in some ways of just, or, you know, hey, my personality might be a little more dominant. Therefore, I think I know what's right for you at all times. Like I'm excited for you. I'm giving you advice. Also, like, you should do this, you should do this.
I can totally see that. Yeah.
And not necessarily in like a toxic way either, but it's kind of cool even toward the end of the episode to see Fiona be like, no, like I'm going to do this because I want to do it. And heck, you kind of have to wonder too, when they were getting fast forward a little, when they were getting ready for the ball, like did we not see when Cake was like, hey, you know, here's this beautiful gown that I helped you put together. Like, why in the world do you need to wear your clothes underneath? Because, you know, when she ends up taking off, when the dress ends up coming off, you know, at the end, she still has her, like, you know, athleisure on. I don't even know if that's the right word to use. But also, I think it again takes me back to middle school where there were times when I wanted to wear something under something else because I felt way more comfortable in my own skin, even if somebody else couldn't necessarily sit there and see that I was wearing like, you know, who I truly am. So it's like the shedding of
almost like you don't need to put on a persona for other people, but like in a situation like a dance where you might have to like wear clothes that you're not typically comfortable in, like you might as well do something that makes you still feel like you.
Yeah, it's like, I think of like a warrior princess. It's like she knew she might have to fight, so she might as well be prepared. It's like I saw this crazy ice queen person earlier today. I might have to see her later, and I don't want to, so I got to keep a sword on me.
And part of me wonders if she had like a weird feeling in her chest, like, I don't know, this feels too good to be true. Because like in moments before in this episode, it felt like Gumball's complete turn, and we find out later that he's Ice King, but like the automatic turn that he takes, and then how much he just like gives her gifts and really thoughtful dates and stuff. It felt a little bit like love bombing to me.
Yes.
Like, and I was like, oh, this is kind of a red flag. And then right when they make it to the ball, he doesn't let her talk to anybody. He like right away isolates her, which would be another red flag. It's like, no, like if you go to something like a ball, like go have fun with friends. And then later on, if y'all are having a good time, y'all can like find that time for isolation. But it doesn't need to be like the first thing to be like, let's separate her from everybody. And
for sure. Like, and then everybody immediately when you walk in, like it's a bumping party. People are having a good time. Girl Cinnabon is getting down in her green dress. And like, there's Marshall Lee, and I'm sure she wanted to go say hi to him because Lord knows both of us would have wanted to. And just so kind of one of those things where, she probably was excited to, everyone's seeing her dressed up for the first time. I mean, I don't know when the last time she probably, got looking like Cinderella, not firing any shots, not saying it's one thing really like, but she looked great and she wanted to go enjoy herself, have a good time. And, and it does kind of remind me of, goodness gracious, am I just going to talk about middle school? I got some stuff I got to sort out. I've talked about this like 3 times.
Well, it does feel a little bit like middle school though, like this episode in general. So it makes sense.
Yeah, the amount of times I had a boyfriend or something be like, you don't need to talk to your friends. Like, just come kiss me. I'm like, no, I want to talk to my friends. Like, don't isolate me from the group.
Exactly. It's important. Like, obviously it's fun to like have those moments, but it's also better to like figure out how to be in a relationship when other people are around too. Like,
yes. It's all about like bringing people into a great group setting and then kind of testing that in a way and saying, okay, well, does this person fit in with all these people? Are they vibing and having a good time? Huge red flag. Mr. Gumball going, I don't want to interact with anybody. It's like, all right, Mr. Gumball, that's on you.
Yeah.
But all this to say, I don't know if this is like a good place for us to like put a pin on it before we like really dig into Ice Queen. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think we'll like talk about the reveal and then everything the reveal kind of leads to after the break.
Yes, we will. Gonna go get some good water and maybe refill my glass of wine.
Sounds good.
All right. Talk to you in a second. Woo.
Sounds good.
Ever had an itch you can't scratch? Ever had a stain you can't get out of your clothes?
For men,
it's time to use Monochromacorn's Armpit Elixir.
For men,
where badassery is not talked about, it's practiced.
For men,
buy now or deeply regret it later.
Men,
Monochromacorn's Armpit Elixir.
How was your break?
Break was great.
What'd you do?
Well, I think we recorded a pretty good ad.
I was going to say trick question.
If I do say so,
you spin it with me.
True. And I got some water. I'm not sure if you got more wine though, or if Ned got you more wine.
Yeah, I've got more wine here. Got my red wine and ready to talk more about Fiona and Cake, the best. The absolute best. And I kind of wanted to start us off here with some factoids.
Let's do it. Jackie Jackie's
do it. I'm
factoids.
DJ Jackie P's factoids. Factoids. Golly. I can't speak. Too much red wine. Just kidding. I've had just enough to talk about this episode.
Lay it on me.
All right. So really cool. The episode actually premiered. When it premiered, there was a total of 3.315 million viewers at the time. This was back in 2011, making it at that time Cartoon Network's highest rated telecast.
Wow, that's crazy. I wonder what the advertising was like before this episode that like maybe led to that.
Gosh, I don't know, but if it was nowadays, I'd be hoping they were doing some hard paid social, maybe a little paid search, some display.
Yeah, because I'm
sure my advertising agency.
Yeah, like you're coming at it from a different perspective, like actually working in ads.
Yeah, like how do we market this?
I was
everywhere.
Like I'm sure the reason why it was so highly viewed is just like the weirdness of having a gender bent episode at the time. Like it's such a cool idea.
It really is. And I don't think at the time there were as many cartoon shows doing something of that nature. And goodness, fans, like if you want to throw something out there and say, actually, yeah, there were, here's this, and this, like I would love to do deep dive. You know where to find us. So we would love some feedback there, but I'm with you. It's really fascinating. And honestly, just because the viewership, and it has such an incredible and substantial following that I guess I'm not too surprised. Like if I was watching it in real time in 2011, as the episodes are coming out week to week, I think I would have been just as mesmerized and been like, I have got to have my eyes glued to the TV.
Yeah, it would have been hype.
Yes. Hype is definitely one way to put it for sure. I will say, though, the record was eventually broken by the 4th season episode, Burning Low. And so I know we'll get to that, of course. But yeah, so it did set a viewership record. Pretty substantial stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really, really cool, really cool. And I kind of like low key want to go ahead and dive in to some of like the cool, like fun little things that we saw.
Yeah, I know we both. I think we're gonna go back to Cake for a second because we forgot like a cool thing that Cake has and like a moment that she has with Fiona is when she like brings out the dulcimer.
My goodness. What a piece of equipment. I would absolutely love if I could have a dulcimer for every conversation starter. Because I think my life would be a hell of a lot easier.
Well,
or worse, I'm not sure.
She's so right, though. It's such an interesting thing that not many people have ever seen. So, yeah, people are going to ask about it.
Yeah, definitely. I was like, okay, is that a makeshift xylophone? What are you doing with that? You gonna play your lover some tunes?
Which I don't know. It was more like she was just aiding Fiona's love, but they were on Lord Monochromicorn's back when she was playing it. So I take that as she did play some tunes to her lover.
She did. And she definitely wanted to let Fiona know, like, hey, I was there during the singing part. Like, I remember I was supporting you with instrumentals. Did you forget? At least you forget.
Yeah, like I was there. I was present. I'm your best friend.
Exactly. Like, come on. And also just like flying through the sky. I'd love to be flying through the sky with a dulcimer. Not me playing, of course, because I'm not musically inclined, but
me neither.
Well, you know, I gotta say though, you're quite artistic for someone who is not musically inclined. You have amazing artistic abilities. Just gotta give you a little hype. I gotta be Cake to your Fiona right now and hype you up.
Well, I really appreciate it. You're being a very awesome Cake. I feel like I'm more visually inclined than I've ever been like audioly inclined.
Yeah, I would have to say I'm more visually inclined as well, but not an artist. So if that gives you any insight into my hearing abilities and or taste, there you go. Just teasing, but
Yeah, I think
it's like, what's up?
you're
Go ahead.
underestimating yourself.
Oh, that's really kind. No, you got me some really cool, I gotta say. If you're ever in the market for some really cool lemon earrings, Allie knows where to find them. And every time I've worn them, I've gotten so many compliments. So there's my
I'm
other
glad.
cake compliment for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like flying through the air. I would love to be flying through the air. And I know that reminded us both of a little something.
Yeah. So I think we talked about the episode for a little bit, and we both mentioned how that scene in particular was like a whole new world in Aladdin, where it was just like the singing, the carpet ride, the Lord Monochromacorn ride, sunset, fireworks. I don't know. It was like the perfect mixture of all of those things.
So romantic.
And the song was so great. Like
right? It was so good.
Yeah.
And it's funny too because Gumball's voice, like if I closed my eyes, it kind of reminded me of Aladdin's.
Oh, I can see that.
It really, I was like, wait, no wonder my memory is like sparking, not just because of the flying through the air and it having a similar color scheme, but I was just like, whoa, I'm seeing Aladdin right now. Where's Jasmine at?
Yeah, where is she?
Yeah, where's she been up to? But I do gotta say, speaking of like the lyrics and stuff, Gumball's got away with words. And I guess we could say Ice Queen has a way with words because
yeah, that's fair.
Technically Ice Queen. But I'm trying to think of there was a quote and it was like he's like, I pay attention to things I see you being all about. I'm like, okay, whoa.
Right.
All
or
right.
even like during the song he's like, your fist has punched away to my heart or something like that.
Oh my god. Yes, he goes like, your fist was the touched my heart. And I was like, don't you mean punched? So it definitely like, we both had that. We're thinking about that.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
But I know for me, Aladdin wasn't the only, like, I don't know, I would say media thing that it kind of reminded me of, or like other story in media. Because really the whole concept of this, not the fan fiction part, which we'll talk about in a second, but the story itself reminded me of Swan Princess, which is basically about a princess who she gets mixed up with a wizard, and the wizard turns her into a swan, and she has a certain amount of days to make her lover realize that she's a swan. But while she is in the swan shape, which only happens during the day, so at night she can actually be herself. But while she's a swan, the wizard like goes undercover as her and makes her prince fall in love with her instead, like the fake princess basically. And then her curse, the curse of being a swan, has her to where if the prince falls in love with somebody else, she'll die. And like it ends with the prince kissing the like wizard at the end, and then the prince has to like go back and fight for her honor.
Oh my goodness.
So like I think this episode really Stress City. But the reason why this episode makes me think of that is like this fake prince or like a fake princess. And then the other element to it, I guess, is it feels like the male's perspective of that story told from a female. Like, I don't It's like it's the prince's perspective of that story, but Fiona's in the prince's shoes. It's very cool.
Wow. You like kind of just blew my mind in a way, because I'm not going to lie to you. The only sort of swan princess, and I know we mentioned this before, that I have that I've experienced with is Barbie Swan Lake. Shout out to you millennials. Yeah, that was a good time. But yes, I'm having some flashbacks to that movie, and I could definitely see vibes there, and parallels for sure.
And
pretty profound.
Barbie does a great job taking stories and like keeping pretty true to what the story is. So
Barbie could have done a better job. Just kidding.
It's true. She has to be very PG, but
yeah, that is very true. And I was definitely, the only thing I was that I thought of was Cinderella, and mainly I was in my head I was thinking of Cake as the fairy godmother. She helped her get the outfit together, and like we didn't necessarily see that apart from it kind of looked like Cinderella's dress, like the shape of it. And then when it turns white at the end of the movie, it was already white going in, and I was like, oh, that reminds me of Cinderella's dress at the end. But one thing that I was like low-key disappointed about was that when Cake took Fiona to the ball, that Cake didn't turn herself into a carriage like Jake would have probably. Like,
yeah.
And like part of me was like, wait, is that not like the extent of does Cake not have those powers? Like, does Cake not have that capability?
Well, we see her turn into a weapon, so I think she does have the capability. She just missed a huge opportunity.
Right. I was like, come on, Cake. You've been great this whole episode. That was a real letdown.
Yeah.
A real letdown. So yes, same to Jake, but I guess you just didn't want to be stretchy there. That's cool.
Was that your Cake mistake of the episode?
It was a huge Cake mistake.
Making big and pancakes.
That was the Cake mistake.
Yeah.
Was Cake not showing up when she should have shown up.
To be fair, it could have been worse, but I agree with that.
Yeah. You're right. And I guess the next thing I kind of want to go into as well, and it kind of gets us closer to like the end of the episode and the big, I don't even want to call it a big bang, but big like slap in your face. Not even a slap. It's like a surprise, a happy surprise.
Yeah,
sort of.
Yeah, it is a little bit like happy in a way.
A little bit. Like a little bit happy, but also like a little bit sad. I'm like, I am sad for you, but I'm also really happy because I'm thinking of this way. I'm being really cryptic right now. But one thing I'll say as well, just really quick, is the prince just automatically like being like, I'm going to go lock you in your room. I was like, whoa. What's going on? What's happening?
Right.
What did you feel about all that before kind of like the final end scene that we're getting to?
So it gave such creeper vibes when he like brought her up to his bedroom.
Gross.
Like, I don't know. It was almost like, I don't know, where like the assumption is like, oh, if I like take you on a date and give you things, then the assumption is we're going to go back to my place. Like that,
right?
That was like the vibe he gave right when he was like closing the door. And then as he's like unbuttoning his shirt, only to reveal like all of that.
Dude, that part had me wigged out. I was like, bro, no, you put that bubblegum shirt back on, Gumball.
Yeah. It was
keep your gum in your pocket, sir. Your stick of gum in your pocket.
Right.
Sorry, I'm being really bad today. I'm gonna stop with it.
No, it's true though. Like,
yeah. And I mean, like, no, I'm sorry. I'm sweating. Oh goodness. But yeah, I was very alarmed, honestly. But then low key when I saw, because I want to say before he even takes his shirt off that he like we pan to the ceiling and we see we see real Prince Gumball and his icicle.
Yeah, they give like a really, really wide shot of the bedroom from like a high angle. So I think it's like automatically you're a little bit disoriented. Like, there's something weird going on. And then it's only heightened by how weird Prince Gumball is acting. Like,
so weird. I'm like, okay, well, something is obviously not right. And the only thing it's not the only thing that's not right is you being a creeper. It's also that your real self is stuck in an icicle on the ceiling and Ice Queen is actually dressed up as you.
Peels off her Gumball suit.
Golly, I don't know, Vecna vibes. I just gotta say. Like, and Stranger Things reference, and I won't spoil Stranger Things for anybody who's not seen the finale, of course.
I haven't seen the finale yet. So.
Oh my gosh, well, I'm so glad I didn't say anything. I'm glad I didn't drop the ball. I'm glad I didn't drop the gumball. And just kind of even looking at the ceiling, it gave me like a little bit of Stranger Things vibes, like the way the ice was coming out, and then like
a little bit of the upside down with him hanging upside down.
Major upside down vibes. And I was like, interesting timing there.
Yeah.
But I was not expecting Ice Queen to just step out of Gumball like that. I was like, hello.
Yeah.
In my face.
Yeah. Like, this is the reveal when I like watched the episode for the first time and it was revealed that it was Ice Queen. I wasn't expecting it. Like, even though it was very weird that Gumball's behavior just like automatically changed on like a dime, it still didn't. I think my first assumption was like, oh, he's been put on a spell or something. Like, I knew something was weird, but I never assumed it was Ice Queen.
Yeah, I do wonder why that is, though, because there are so many occasions where the Ice King himself dresses up and like schemes, and I'm very quick typically to go, oh, that's Ice King's scheming. He's probably wearing a costume of some kind. And I don't know if I just sort of forgot that, obviously he wasn't technically, in this scene himself, but like physically, but I just sort of discounted it. And I was like, oh no, just like you did, to your point, I said, oh, definitely under a spell in that case.
Yeah. And I think it's like another big contrast between Ice Queen and Ice King. Like, this scene shows that she wasn't foiled by like her clumsiness or her silliness, which happens a lot with Ice King. Like, he's just clumsy and silly. But she was more foiled because of her arrogance, like her belief that she couldn't be foiled. And I think that's a huge difference between the two of them. And this plan was so well thought out. It just felt like a weird shift. Like, I wasn't expecting it from an ice antagonist.
No, and to go through all of that work, and I think to have the powers at sort of the level and the height that Ice Queen's powers are at, which are, I think, substantially more elaborate and powerful than Ice King's. And we see that from the beginning with like the Slush Beast and, all of that. But I was kind of like shocked. I was like, oh, they're done. Like, this is kind of crazy. It's a whole other level of ice.
Right. She is so crazy powerful. Like, and then, I mean, it just shows though, like when Fiona's fighting her, how resourceful Fiona and smart Fiona is, because Fiona didn't have a weapon because the Ice Queen gave her a fake weapon. So, and she was still able to like come out successful in fighting her. And I think that's just more to the point of Ice Queen seemed so savage and so smart that Fiona seemed even more, I don't know, it
Cunning,
almost put her, it put her on a like different, really cool level of just like resourcefulness. And we've been saying it a lot, but badassery, like
badassery and wittiness
Right.
and like strategy, like just being like, okay, like acting like this isn't her everyday, which I
Right.
think Finn has a lot of those same qualities. But I almost think that something about Fiona seems a little bit more mature.
Yeah, I think she's older than Finn. So I feel like she has had time to like mature, basically. Like come
She's
into her
seen some
own
things.
Exactly.
She's had some world experiences.
No, it's true though. And to that point, like Fiona's ending realization at the end of the fight, at the end of like her story, I absolutely loved. And I felt like it was like such a good ending point until it continued on with the Ice King writing himself into the story. But when she was like, oh, I have a bunch of guy friends, but like I don't have any boyfriends, but that's okay because I'm not really interested in any of these guy friends as boyfriends. Like I don't want to just wait around. I want to feel like I'm somebody special, and I'll know when that something special comes along. And I love that. And I think that's advice that Finn needs to take. Like I feel like that was a moment of deep maturity for Fiona, and that's advice that Finn still hasn't grasped and may need a couple more years to grasp.
Hey, and like it all comes at different times for different people, and I've had one of those moments, I'm sure you have, where you go, okay, like I am gosh, I'm using badass all the time. I am a badass, and I'm a capable person who has a lot of options in front of me, and like I know my worth.
Exactly.
And if I don't want to waste my time right now, I don't want to waste my time.
Right. Like don't settle.
Yeah, don't settle. And I love that. Like that was really empowering and really refreshing to see. And I think Finn could use some of that. And I wish that there was like a little round table of Finn, Jake, Cake, and Fiona, and just kind of seeing them all together. I would love that. I think that would be so fun. But I really do want to talk with you about that sort of like the reveal, but then when it all comes together at the end, because bam, that like that hits your heart, and it hits your heart in a sweet sadness kind of way.
Definitely. So it's like the reveal after the reveal. Like
yes, the reveal within the reveal.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, like it's revealed that Ice Queen is the like Prince Gumball all along, and then it's like a second later it's revealed that Ice King is actually the one writing the whole story, and it was all just him putting pen to paper.
Wow, I was like, wow, I've been bamboozled.
Yeah, I was
the
like,
first time.
Oh, okay.
You're like, okay, so this is what we're working with.
Yeah,
and
I was like,
so yeah. First initial thoughts.
I feel like automatically it gave like a different perspective of everything we just watched. Like you had to like start analyzing it from a different way, because now you know it was just a story from Ice King.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's super mind effing, and you sit there and you're like, wait, okay, so he came up with this the whole time. But how aware was Ice King as he's writing this? Like something about it to me is really fascinating. The fact that he writes himself to end up losing. It's like, because he's always trying to win. He's trying to get these princesses. He wants to, come out the hero, insert quotation marks, what he believes to be the hero. But I think it's also this element of like showing like his obsessive nature with Finn and with Jake, and like the cover of his book is like him and Finn. Or him and Fiona, excuse me. I'm pretty sure it's like they're kissing or like about to kiss. So it's just, I think it's in a way, I'm just going to throw this out here.
Mm-hmm.
It's dissociative. Like he can't, and I don't want to like at all like butcher what I'm trying to say. And Allie, you might be able to help me finish, but essentially he's dissociating from his own madness, and in a way it's really social commentary and his own narration on what he's experiencing around him.
Right. So what you're kind of saying is he's using this, like writing the story as a way to like almost escape from his own experience.
Yes.
Does that...
It definitely makes sense. And I think his own madness of kind of sitting there and going like, he's so mad that he can't even, like, he has to dissociate. Like that's
right.
how he escapes.
Yeah. I think I also I love that perspective because it's a little bit different than how I personally saw the episode. And because when I first watched it, like my theoretically speaking for the episode, was that Ice King was trying to like reconnect to traumatic things in his past.
Wow.
So
that really does take it another level deeper. I love it.
Yeah, which I guess kind of works with the dissociation too, because a lot of times when somebody's processing trauma, sometimes they have to fictionalize things to be able to like start talking about it, which is kind of what I feel like this episode was that he's obviously something happened with the crown. They make it very obvious this episode where like Fiona knocks the crown off of Cake's head and she's like, you don't want to catch her crazy. And I obviously the crown is somehow connected to the madness of both Ice Queen and Ice King.
Uh-huh.
But I think this is Ice King trying to like process that trauma and then also communicate that trauma to Finn and Jake. Like it's really hard to share that kind of experience sometimes. So sometimes it's easier to just be like,
wow,
oh, I'm going to journal about this. And then maybe I'll let somebody like read a letter about what happened to me.
I love that. I think that and I love hearing, because that wasn't not my initial thought, but it makes so much sense. Because Ice King is weathered. Like he's seen some shit. He's been through it. And you know, that's the only way he can process it. And I want to sit here and do spoiler alerts, but I won't, because there's so much I want to talk about with the crown, and you know, even digging deeper into what we can theoretically sort of, you know, think how Ice King is really feeling inside, right. Like what's going on there, because it's a lot to unpack. But you're on the money. You're on the money for sure.
Yeah, I think this episode was the first. We knew that the crown gave him powers. Like we knew that before, but this episode really emphasized how important the crown was to also probably the other parts of his character.
Yeah, it's like the crown makes up so much more than it's more than just Ice King's crown. Like it, you know, can control a lot of elements of the way that he interacts with others, and I am sure within itself has caused, you know, whatever kind of trauma. So that, along with who knows what else he's seen, you know.
Yeah. But I think this episode we can also like see about how Ice King views other characters, which is really fascinating because he's writing a version of himself, but also other characters. And I think like Fiona and Cake seem almost like they seem so good this episode. Like very little flaws, like maybe Fiona's flaw would be that she ended up trusting the Ice Queen, but that's not really her fault. She was led that way, but
I would have done the same thing as her.
Right. She was kind of love bombed into it. So manipulated. I don't really blame Fiona for, and she already had a crush on him, like she was already a little bit blinded to any weirdness.
Definitely. And yeah, it's so fascinating. I just want to like revel in this episode. I just want to sit and think about it for many, many moons to come.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those episodes you could just talk for way too long about.
I mean, we've definitely had a long episode, but I'm telling you, I think it's worth something. We unpacked some good stuff, didn't we, Allie?
I agree.
And as always, like, I mean, I absolutely love going back and forth with you. And I think, sitting down and it's fun because we got to talk about like middle school and we got to talk about like actual like deep stuff, not just like a middle school dance. So.
Right. Well, it was like fun and nostalgic.
Precisely. And always more to come on that. And just
do you have any lessons for that episode?
I'm so glad you came to the lessons. I always forget the lessons. It's just how it be. To be honest, it kind of goes back again. Well, I might need to start journaling on some middle school trauma, I guess. But I think lessons are, hold your heart close to your chest. Like, do you, boo? Do you?
Or like Fiona says, protect your heart guts.
Protect your heart. Was that your lesson?
I also had that as a lesson, but my main lesson is fan fiction is good.
Oh, isn't it? So good. I need to write my own fan fiction. Maybe we write our own fan fiction about Ned and Russell having their own podcast.
That would be fun. That would be...
maybe they can give it a shot at some point, but we'll see.
Yeah. Maybe future.
Maybe
in the future we can do an episode like that.
Good luck to them.
Well, cool.
I'm sure I'll
do
be
you have
talking
any
to
other thoughts or...
Oh, I'm sorry. I was about to sign off. Goodness.
If not, we can sign off.
Do you have any other thoughts?
I think I'm satisfied with the episode.
I'm pretty darn satisfied too, and I hope that all of the listeners are as well.
Well, cool. Well, thank you guys for listening. Let's go ahead and say our socials. So our Instagram is neverendingadventurepodcast. Our TikTok is neverendingadventurecast. Our Twitter is NEA podcast. And our email is nea.travelerslog@gmail.com. And feel free to send us an email, any comments, any questions. We love to get emails and like have a whole segment about it. And if you review us on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, we will send you stickers for reviews. So feel free to do that. But our podcast comes out every Tuesday, and party forever.
Boom, bam.
And then Allie is going to say, oh my gosh, this episode was so good, but really it just made me reflect on how hot Russell is.
Oh yeah, it's just all about just man babes and adventure time and all your sexy characters.
Yeah, that's what Jackie's gonna say next? Like to her response.
That's how she sounds like too. Like if I imagine Jackie on the microphone, she'd be like, "Oh my god, like Ned's so hot."
You want to hear what Allie would sound like? Allie would be like, "Yeah, Russell is so attractive. He's just the sexiest. Way sexier than Marshall Lee, even though I said that Marshall Lee is my sexy character and I want to totally be with Marshall Lee and not Russell. But it was a fan fiction all along. So, I mean, whatever, we were writing it.
Yeah, you just got our take at a fan fiction podcast episode per se.
Per se. Well, Ned,
if you made it an hour and 5 minutes into it, I'm more impressed. I'm more impressed at that.
Oh, they all did. Of course they did. Ned, I'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll kick it up. We'll kick it up normal style next Tuesday. No more fan fiction for now. For just a little while.
Sounds good. See you, dude.